This name has been coming up a lot. Lukas Van Ness from Iowa started showing up in lists of ranked prospects and mock drafts, and then there was more, and then people really started to dig into the tape and fall in love. Daniel Jeremiah's got him top 25 now. Kiper, I think Mel Kiper has him number 12. It's like everybody's kind of growing in interest, and he's a fascinating prospect. And oh, by the way, he's from Barrington.
So we're going to talk to two different people today. We're going to talk to his coach who's training him for the draft in a little bit. But right now, joining us on the Circuit Resort and Casino Hotline, Circuit Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, home of the world's largest sports book, where we will be broadcasting tomorrow and the next day. Joe Sanchez, his coach at Barrington High School, with us on The Score. Coach Sanchez, thank you so much for the time. How are you doing today?
Doing great, guys. It's an honor to be on your show, so thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We wanted to get to know a little bit more about Lukas Van Ness. You still in touch with him?
Yeah. Actually, we spoke last night.
Okay, that's recent enough for us. How big of a Bears fan is he? Would it be a big deal if he was a Bear?
Oh gosh, yeah. There's no doubt. I think for any Chicago area kid to be drafted by your home team, just to know that that's even just a possibility would be unbelievable for him and his family. But if you know Lukas, just being in this position and having the opportunity to play in the NFL is an unbelievable dream of his. So yeah. But to go back to be able to come here to Chicago would be awesome.
So tell us about him as a player in high school, an offensive lineman for you, Coach, and a pass rusher as well at Barrington. Not among the top 1,000 recruits nationally in 2020. Wondering what kind of player he was. I wonder why he wasn't thought of in that way coming out of high school.
You know what? I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was in this day and age, it's rather rare, but he was a traditional high school player. And what I mean by that is he took the traditional route. He played freshman football as a freshman, played sophomore football as a sophomore, and didn't come up to the varsity until his junior year. And not for a lack of talent, certainly. There were some very good players ahead of him. But Lukas, if you know anything about his story, also was a really good hockey player. And from my understanding, didn't really pick up football till high school. His junior year, we all knew what he could be because you certainly saw the size, the athletic ability, the bend, for a kid his size. But because of hockey, never really fully committed to football until after his junior season. And when he committed and really decided that this is what I want to pursue, I mean, that's when he really started to take off. For us, he was a tremendous player. As a junior, he started as a defensive lineman, defensive end. And then as a senior, was a captain and was a two-way player or starter on offense and defense. And obviously, he had the opportunity to play at Iowa, his other dream school. If we're talking about the Bears being a dream, playing for the Hawkeyes was a dream for him and his family. And, it's been an unbelievable ride.
As you watched him develop at Iowa, what was the key? What got him from good two-way player in high school to potential top 10 pick in the NFL draft?
You know what? I just think it's his work ethic. I mean, certainly he's been blessed with a lot of gifts, but Lukas is humble and he's hungry. I know that's cliche, but it's 100% true. I think because Lukas also didn't take the traditional path, meaning like he didn't get burned out by playing football from such a young age, and really didn't take it, to that next level until after his junior year in high school. I think that also made him hungry. Like he was still learning the game and had a great desire to want to keep getting better. And obviously was coached by some tremendous people at the University of Iowa, Coach Ferencz, Coach Bell, Coach Parker, Coach Wallace. I mean, those guys they're awesome. And I just think it's his work ethic and it's his humility, and just paying attention to the details. And, so I think that was, for me personally, what I think was his greatest attribute and his ability for such growth.
Coach, Joe Sanchez of Barrington High School is here with us. Everyone writes about his motor and raves about the motor. I saw there's one game he had 9 quarterback pressures at Iowa. There was one time in Iowa he blocked 2 punts in the same day. Just like wherever you put him, that motor seems to show up. Does that track with the kid that you saw in high school?
Oh, most certainly. I mean, that's just Lukas only knows one speed, and that's full speed. And that's a great thing, because when one of your best players only knows one speed, well, then that means everybody else is going to play at that speed. And yeah, I mean, it certainly tracks. But that's just his personality and who he is as a person. And watching him at Iowa and seeing him play the way he did, beyond the fact that he got significantly stronger and bigger, was a lot of what we saw here at Barrington.
You said you talked to him last night. How is he experiencing this pre-draft part of the process?
Yeah, him and his family, they're obviously enjoying it. I mean, they know it's a process, and it can be a little overwhelming at times. But Lukas has such great perspective. He's just really taking it, one day at a time, and really just trying to appreciate it, because, much like when we went through the recruiting process together, me and him and his family, there are very few times in life when people are recruiting you and wanting you, to be a part of their school, to be a part of their franchise and their program. So I think Lukas, understands, that this is, once in a lifetime opportunity, but also understands that, whoever he gets drafted by, all that stuff goes out the window, and now it's time to go back to work. So, I think he's just enjoying it, going to just try and enjoy this process, because, as you guys know, I mean, it is once in a lifetime, and he'll get a chance to look back on this time very fondly.
Coach, Ryan Poles seems to be targeting Bears fans. Robert Tonyan had an Urlacher jersey in his basement.
TJ Edwards.
TJ Edwards had a Devin Hester jersey that he wore to tailgates. Cole Kmet is obviously here, though his dad was a Packer. Lucas's girlfriend is Cole Kmet's younger sister, and I know kind of they're tight now. Were they tight then? Did you know the Kmet family in high school, Coach?
You know what? We knew of them. I didn't know them personally, but obviously being in the area, you knew how talented the boys were, and certainly would have loved the opportunity to have had them be here at Barrington, but they did just fine at St. Vitus, and. Once again, I mean, you knew of them and you knew about them, but, I don't know them personally. And, once again, but everything I hear about them is they're a tremendous family. And, the whole thing with Lukas and Frankie, I'm not really privy to, so I'm not going to speak to that. I don't want to get myself in any trouble.
That's fair, Coach.
So I'm going to stay away from that.
Well, then last thing, and we'll talk to the guy who's training him for the draft here in just a minute, but, you know what the Bears run. Do you think he's a 3 technique? What do you think he profiles to? 6'5", 275, monster combine. What do you think he profiles to in the NFL?
You know what? I think I think he could be, but I think he's also could be an outstanding defensive end. I think the thing, and you guys know this as well as I do. You guys study the game. In the NFL now, it's all about versatility. And it's all about, sub packages, and you saw Iowa do that. They moved him all over the place. And I think that's probably one of the greatest things that could have happened to Lukas, because now it's made him more marketable now, as he's getting ready for the possibility of getting drafted to whoever. And so I just think, what a lot of NFL franchises are looking for is they're looking for guys that can become matchup problems at any position. So I think you could take him and you could play him anywhere you wanted. And he certainly knows he's got things to get better at, but I think he'd pose a matchup problem anywhere you put him. And whatever he's lacking, trust me, he'll quickly figure that out, diagnose it, and he'll get better at it, before you know it, and you won't talk about it ever again.
Joe Sanchez, Lukas Van Ness's coach at Barrington High School. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. We appreciate the insight there. So we'll get Eddie McGilvra up on the line here in just a second. He's the guy who's training Lukas Van Ness in the offseason, but obviously going to be a glowing report there. But those are the types of people that NFL coaches will be calling.
Well, I keep thinking about what Rod Marinelli said when we asked him about this defense. When Eberflus, who loved Marinelli, came here. I remember I asked him, is a 3 technique somebody who plays that position or somebody you go and find and fit to that position? And he said, oh, that's a good question. Because, you can grab somebody like the Bears talked to the Northwestern kid out of Barre and said, hey, could you do this? Van Ness might be a perfect fit for that, and they might be thinking about that even though he hasn't showcased it.
All right, so that was like the personal side with the guy who coached him in high school. Now we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty with the man who is training Lukas Van Ness for the NFL. He goes by D-line Coach Ed on Twitter, which is fantastic. Eddie McGilvra has coached first-round picks on the D-line in each of the last 4 NFL drafts, including Aiden Hutchinson. Coach Ed, thank you for your time. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm doing great out here. It's raining in Southern California, but, I guess Californians say we need it, so we just bear with it.
Yeah, we have absolutely no sympathy for you. I think it's been gray for like 40 straight days. In Chicago. We'll pick up the conversation where we were just ending it with his high school coach. What do you think Lukas profiles to edge rusher, 3 technique? What do you think his best fit is in the NFL?
I think his best fit will probably be on the edge in the NFL. Not to say he can't move inside in certain sub packages, but I think he'll have the most success every down and on the edge.
Okay. He is, because the power is incredible, obviously, and we see lots of unbelievable bull rushes. Is it a matter of developing the moves on the edge? What is his challenge right now to be considered a great edge?
I think he just needed to and he's working on refining some of the stuff he's good at, sharpening those skills. His get off needed a little bit of work, and then some counters off of his power. Like you said, he does a really good job. He's tremendous at getting into his bull rush, but I think in the NFL, you can't limit yourself by just sticking to one thing. And the offensive linemen and the coaches do a great job of, studying film and watching what you're good at and taking that away. So I think if he can develop something off of his power, he's gonna transfer that into a phenomenal career in the NFL.
So the J.J. Watt comps get thrown around sometimes just because of, I think, of the rawness, perhaps, and that ability to be on the edge and inside. Do you understand those comps when they get thrown around for Lukas? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I can see some of it for sure. To me, it's always hard to comp a Hall of Fame player to a kid coming out of college, but I could definitely see some comps coming out from, like, I like to compare guys that are when they were coming out at the time, like when JJ was coming out of Wisconsin. I could probably see a little bit of that in Lukas for sure.
So we're talking to D-line coach Ed. You did Aiden Hutchinson last year. Who are the other first-round picks that you've trained in the last 4 drafts?
I had Kwity Paye for the Colts, Jalen Phillips for the he's with Miami Dolphins. I had Quinnen Williams. When back in 2019 when he was getting ready to come out of Bama. But a lot of similarities in the fact that those guys were all very raw with their technique and their talent was off the charts, but you could see they just needed to refine a couple of things getting ready for the NFL. So I think Lukas is right there with those guys.
So you're then very close with him as he's going through this process. Mock drafts are weird, and it's done by people like us in the media. You're much closer to it. What type of interest is he garnering?
I've heard everything from, he'll top 10 to if he's there at 15, he won't go past 15. If he's there, I couldn't imagine him slipping past 2025. Like, I'd be shocked if he didn't get in the top 20-25 picks with a talent like he has. And honestly, too, like him not playing or starting at Iowa really had nothing to do with his play. And I think, if anything, it's going to benefit him because he's healthy and he has fresh legs.
Wasn't the thing at Iowa that Kirk Ferentz just kind of gave ceremonial starts to seniors?
For sure. I think it was something like that where, the seniors play first and, him being, I think he was a freshman and redshirt sophomore the 2 years he played. So, yeah, I could see that could coming into a factor. But, I don't think it affected him at all. I think, if anything, it helped him, and he was humbled by it, learned from it, and now he's excited for the next chapter.
Yeah, I was reading that he played more snaps than all but one Iowa lineman this past year, regardless of the ceremonial starts. So you're working with others in this draft, right, Ed? Like, you're working with Zach Harrison. Do I have that right?
Yes, sir. The group I have is it's all through the same agency, Athletes First.
Sure.
And yeah, Zach is one of the 5 guys in the group. Nolan Smith from Georgia, Nesta Jade Silvera was another one, and then what am I blanking on? Lucas, and then Brian Breezy.
Brian Breezy. So we're trying to find a 3-tech, man. It's everything. there's Mazai Smith out of Michigan. I'm sure you're familiar with all these guys. Then who's the best 3 technique in this batch that you're working with?
I mean, Brian Breezy is a world-class talent. It's going to be hard for anybody to pass him up. If his name is up on the board and you're in need of an interior defensive lineman that can play right away, Brian is going to be a sure thing for you.
How does he compare to Quinnen Williams?
Quinnen was recruited to Alabama as an outside linebacker.
Well, he's one of the biggest humans I've ever seen, so that's weird.
The Quinnen story is actually hilarious. He was there as an outside linebacker as a true freshman, and their nose guard on scout team goes down one day, and Coach Saban's just like, get somebody in there. Quinnen just jumps in there at 2:30 soaking wet, and sorry, my dog is going to go crazy.
You're good. All good, man. It's raining.
And he's just like, Quinnen jumps in there and just starts killing the starting center. And next thing you know, Saban's like, oh, there's our nose guard.
Wow. Well, that's ridiculous. All right, so you think Breezy's a sure thing as a 3-tech. You think Lukas Van Ness, top 20, top 25, needs to work on a counter off of the power, but the motor is awesome. I mean, Nolan Smith is the guy who's probably risen more on draft boards than anyone else because of the freaking nature athleticism. What do you think of him before we let you go?
Yeah, I think he's going to be – Nolan might be the guy that goes first out of everybody just because of the combine and everything that he put on display. Being a national champion, too, it's going to be hard to pass up a guy like that, and he's going to take over a room in an interview and stuff like that. He's an incredible character.
Eddie, thanks for the time, man. We learn a lot talking to guys like you who are working with these dudes, so we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All good, man. I appreciate the time. You guys take care out there.
All right, at D-Line Coach Ed, Eddie McGilvra on Twitter. What a crazy gig.
Yeah,
he get tied in with an agency, and then you coach all of these dudes in the first round?
He works at a tiny school called College of the Canyons out there, but you get tied in with the agency, and you become the D-line coach.